Hi guys, so welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is John Honey. If you're new here, kindly consider subscribing, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I really value your presence, and let's get right into the video. So guys, I will be talking about rejection in this video, and I will talk about how rejection has shaped me this far. And I'm really grateful for the scenarios and circumstances that have happened in my life because they have brought me to where I am. So, without much further ado, let me get right into the story. So, in 2015, around the month of February, I got pregnant, and uh, I'm the kind of a person who really values taking responsibility of my own actions. So what happened was that I just decided that since this had already happened, um, I will take responsibility, carry the baby to term, and yes, just live with the consequences of my actions. So around that time, I was in the last year of my schooling in university. That was my fourth year, first semester. So what happened was that I told my husband that I was pregnant. At that time, we were only dating, and I didn't know how he would take it. But I had already made the decision that whether he would take responsibility or not, that these were the consequences of my action, and that I was supposed to just take responsibility of everything that was happening in my life. So what happened was that he did take responsibility. Na hakuruka, that was something that meant so much to me because, as you all know, campus is a little bit different, and everybody is at a very different state of mind at that time. And what happens is that we fear responsibility at that time, and actually, not at that time, at any point in our lives, we fear responsibility. So when he accepted, what I didn't know was how to just face my parents and tell them that this had happened. So what ended up happening was that when we were going home I can't remember well, because the following semester was the last one. So I believe, yes, I believe it was first year, first semester. Let me not just give random information. So the following semester was the last semester, was my last semester in school. So one thing that I had advantage over was the fact that I did not have retakes. I did not have receipts at all. So when it got to the time that people were going home for our short holiday, because ours was like a crash program. So our holidays would be approximately 2 weeks, moving to maybe closer to 3 weeks. And I remember I did not want to go home. So when school closed, uh, we stayed over for like a week, and I went home like for like the better part of the last week, and then we opened school again. Because now I had to come back home and write the usual letter to my sponsors for them to pay my school fees. And I remember at that time, my greatest fear was that now how am I going to take this paper? Because at that time I wasn't doing it via email. I was doing it physically. I will take it to my aunt's office, the paper, the application for financial assistance. She will forward it to the institutions, to the institutions board. And when that happened, I had so many questions. I didn't even know how to tell my parents. I remember what happened was that I went home, and at this time, my mom liked to cook with garlic so much. And I remember I was nauseated to death. I was feeling like I just can't take it anymore. So, what ended up happening, I just told her at that point that I'm pregnant, and I actually can't bear it when you cook with garlic. So I just told my mom and couldn't face my dad and tell him that this was happening. At that time, my dad was still working at Nakuru, so we were still in the same vicinity, but I was avoiding him like a plague. I couldn't meet with him. Nikimwona huko, I remember I once saw him at a place called Rafiki because it's the same vicinity since he used to work. He actually does carpentry for uh, the school. He builds things for the school. So when that happened, I couldn't meet him. I even remember during that whole period, during my pregnancy, I have an elder brother. So what happened was that he came home one day and asked me, "What's this?" And I told him I didn't actually hide it. I told him I'm pregnant. And I actually didn't tell him that I didn't want to tell dad, but I just told him I'm pregnant and left it at that. So I stayed for the 9 months, and thankfully I didn't get suspended because at my school, what happened was that if you're pregnant, they send you home to go for that period and rest. It's a kind of suspension because you have to go home and stay for around a year so that they give you time to go give birth and take care of your child and then come back to school. So then the other advantage to that is if you happen to tell them of who your baby daddy is, you and the baby daddy go home. So I was lucky because I was in the last year of my schooling. And another thing was that I was staying home. I was staying outside school, sorry. So I finished school and stayed there until my graduation. I remember I graduated on the 18th of December, sorry, and my son was born in the previous month. So he was about a month when I was graduating. And I remember him being carried by my mom. He was too tiny at my graduation, and I didn't even enjoy my graduation because I was sore with milk, and I was always wondering, is he okay? Is everything okay? Is he disturbing my mom? So that was 2015. So in 20, my mom came, sorry, I forgot to mention that my mom came and assisted me. During that time, I was almost graduating. She came and stayed with me. So that meant that my husband had to leave the house. So she came, stayed with me for a while, assisted me. During that time when you just given birth, you need a lot of care. So she was the one who even told me you're not supposed to sit down too much when you've just given birth. You could develop fistula, but her she didn't call it that. But she told me that it's quite dangerous because your bones are yet to heal. So when you sit too much, what can happen is that your body can refuse to heal and you end up developing serious issues. So I was lucky that she came and told me these things because I didn't know. I'm the kind of person who, when she concentrates on one thing, I overdo it. So I remember She even gave me the chance to even rest during that time. But then, when we were almost now coming to the year 2016, she left and went and came back home to Nairobi. So I was left alone. And what happened was that we had to go to my brother in law's place to visit with my son now and stayed there for a while. And I'm even grateful that we did, because that is where I went and got free contraceptive, totally free, at Kakamega, Kakamega County Hospital. So I believe that was the purpose of us going there, because according to my research, for you to have a contraceptive that is long term, you have to pay more than this short term ones. We went back to Nakuru in the month of May. We went back to Nakuru in the month of May, and I actually had to just get a job. I'm really grateful for everyone who assisted me during this time, because I remember, if anybody knows, if anybody was at Kabarak or is knows Mr. Ongoya, and there was also Mrs. To, there was also Miss Ruth Juliet. Those were the people who really assisted me during that time. There was also Miss Rahab, and I remember they advertised for a job. It was a kind of internship at the school. I applied and got. I remember I went for an interview and I told them they actually knew that I had a child, and they still gave me the chance to. They gave me that chance to become an intern there, and I worked there until November, because at around December I had to come back to my application now again for funds to go to the Kenya School of Law. So in my husband actually came and applied for me. So I had already made my application to join the Kenya School of Law, but now I had to come and make the application to get funds to join Kenya School of Law by myself. So I traveled with my son to Nairobi, and this is where actually in 20 going to 2017, in a way things started not working for me, because everything that I believed in started to be like a far away dream because of the things that were happening. So when I came back home, I remember I stayed for a while with my mom, because I think I came when it was almost going to Christmas, since I did not want to have the sorry, wait, the Christmas rush. So I came to Nairobi at around the 15th to 18th there, before people started traveling for Christmas. And what happened was that I stayed with my mom for a while. And actually, the other reason that I was coming to Nairobi was to request my mom to just stay with my 1 year old son at this time now, because he had already turned a year old. And when that time came, I asked my mom, I asked her to kindly just stay with my son for a while, like a year, as I get through with Kenya School of Law. She said no. And that is where, for me, everything started falling apart, because I couldn't believe that she could say no. I didn't believe she actually said she will not stay with my son. And maybe I won't lie that that did not spoil our relationship. It actually did. It made my relationship with her really difficult because that was not the only thing she said. She didn't only say no, she said other things. And one thing that I'm grateful for is that she said no. At that time, I felt like she wronged me so much, but by saying no. But the truth is that when she was supporting me to go to school, she did not take me to school to go get pregnant. She did not take me to school to now come again and take care of my son. For her, she wanted the best for me. And I believe she was disappointed that she actually didn't see this dream of me becoming a lawyer being actualized now. For her, she thought now it's all gone. So she was mad and told me to actually leave. And I remember that my husband at that time was in Nairobi, so I just asked him to go to I asked to go stay with him. And actually, I'm thankful that God just placed him in my life because I understand for other people that they don't get the kind of support that I got. Because I'm grateful that my husband's side of the family now came in where my parents could not. I actually forgot to tell you that my dad actually came to know that I told him on the, the day before or after I had given birth. So my dad knew. My dad was supporting me because I needed someone to just stay with my son at that time so that I could get to finish school. But it was nobody's responsibility to do that. And that is where we go wrong. We should always take responsibility of our actions because failure to do so, I have come to conclude that in the event that maybe my mom would have said, yeah, it's okay, you can bring your son to come and stay with me, I will take care of him. What maybe would have ended up happening was that I wouldn't even probably join Kenya School of Law. There's more that is expected of you as a mother. So for me, I did not know this because uh, personally, I believe that I got pregnant at a young age. And I think that is why uh, Benjamin Zulu always insists on people just following or working on their dreams until you past. I believe he says the age of 24 because the truth is that you know nothing at that time, and the only thing that can help you later in life is growth. If you can just try and grow yourself. We stayed for a while, and now at around he also had to go back to school because now when I got pregnant, he actually stopped studying and started hustling for us to support us financially because now I could not support us while at the same time taking care of my son. We could not, one of us has had to work while the other takes care of the child. So I was the one who was taking care of the child at that time. And even if I was working, what I was doing at that time, I was only getting a stipend, which was not could not support as much. So he had to get a job just for us to get by, and things were not easy. So when he had to go back to school, I stayed with my husband's sister. And I'm grateful for my husband's side of the family, mainly my sisters in law and my brother in law, because they have supported us so much. And I even remember it got to a time when I had already joined Kenya School of Law. My sister in law would even give me fare to go to school. So, because now my husband is at school and I am here. So she just took up the responsibility of even giving me fare. And I remember at that time I was so tiny because I was not eating enough. I breastfed my son till he was almost 2 years. 2 years. So I was saying that I joined when it was almost time to join Kenya School of Law, because I remember the class of 2017 joined around the 6th of February. When I went to take my transcript to her, she asked me some questions that were kind of like she wanted to know what was really going on with me, and maybe wanted to clarify whether I had gotten pregnant at school. But I didn't tell her because I feared that if I would tell her, she would withdraw every sort of assistance she was giving me. So when I received the call that you're supposed to come pick up your check, I've I've never been so excited, because I remember on going there, I actually went there the same day. I went there to the office the same day to pick up my check. And I was so grateful because everything was paid. Everything. The only thing that I didn't have was accommodation. And I remember going there, going back to my aunt's place and to my aunt's office and talking to her and trying to tell her to actually assist me pay for accommodation. She actually said yes and all that. She didn't want to be rude to me, but she did not pay for accommodation. It's like she knew this one already has a child. So where is she going to leave her child and go stay in a hostel? Because I remember that I did see someone who was living in the hostel and they had a child, but I don't think it was allowed. So it was like labda ilikuwa kitu ya chini ya maji, I don't know, but she didn't accept. So that is where the struggle began. And I will tell you that my own mother's rejection to stay with my son affected me so much. It affected me so much because there were so many things that uh, I could I could do I had to do in the morning, because now I have to make sure that my son has diapers, my son has food, that I drop my son off first at daycare. I remember I was always late for class, because before I know it, it's already at around 8:30 and classes are starting at 9. And you know Rongai, because I went to stay at Rongai is quite far. And there's aka traffic that develops in between Rongai and Kenya School of Law. And don't forget that ukishukishiwa this other side, if you do not have uh, because I remember there was a bus, a small van that will drop people at the gate. But now ukichelewa, you'll have to be dropped at the other side. Uko karibu na the national park. So you have to be dropped at that side. And always I will be dropped there and had to walk to school. Always. Because I could not afford to pay for a place to live at Karen. The other thing that is that I was always broke, because now, um, since my husband is at school, because I remember my dad saying that at the moment he cannot even comment on our situation, because he understands that my husband is always is also a student, and he also needs to go to school. So he took up the responsibility of paying for a place for me to live, and that's just a story for another day. Because the place that I went to live, where, hey, It's just something else. So my mom's rejection of staying with my son, I actually, later on, I came to understand that if she did not say no, I will be in a different place in life. Not a better one, because I will continue probably to take things for granted and just think that things are supposed to go the way they were going. So, and I remember at school, I would have people talk behind my back, and some of them would even gather the courage to come and ask me, so why are you struggling this much and your mother is alive? Why could you not leave your son with your mother? And most of the time I wouldn't even have the answer, because personally I'm also struggling. I'm struggling to understand why this is happening to me. And I believe that her rejection has made me a better parent, because I have been in every step of my son's life, every single step, and it has assisted me to just make decisions based on my own situation. If my own mother said no to staying with my son at that time, and she told me some really hurtful things, and all that happened in a very short span, because my mom was the closest parent that I had. And now it even turned things around, because now my dad became stepped into her shoes and was always there for me. And I would talk to my dad mainly when I was frustrated and I was feeling like things are not working out. It even, her rejection even fixed my relationship with my father, because it was not that great. So I have I have learned so many things since the year 2017 to now. I have learned to always have my priorities in order. And my prayer is that I get the chance to bring him up to adulthood, because now I came to understand that your child is your responsibility, and nobody will love them as much as you love them. Sometimes circumstances may lead to us not being able to take care of our own children, but I'm grateful that I took responsibility of being pregnant and decided just to keep the pregnancy, and not fearing what would come, because there was so much to fear. Having been brought up in a religious family, getting pregnant is one of those things that is unheard of. Because personally, even when I was in high school, I didn't even have a boyfriend. My first boyfriend was when I was in campus. So even when they heard that I was pregnant, they were shocked how that happened. I'm an introverted person. I'm actually an introverted introvert. I keep to myself so much, and I rarely let people in. So when they heard I was pregnant, I actually remember that they could not even ask me questions, because now they're shocked. They don't even know how to handle this situation. They're wondering, eh. And being actually the first person to ever go to university in my father's side of the family, getting pregnant was one of those things that was a total disappointment for the whole family. So in life, I have learned to do things that are right by you, and just make decisions based on my well-being. And also, I have learned that most of the time, the people that we think will come through for us do not come through for us. people, God will place other people, will put other people in place to just assist you. I even remember that there were classmates who would even come through for me in big ways, because when I would miss classes, sometimes I would request someone to just sign in for me, since I cannot go to school and sometimes I do not have money to take my son to daycare. Maybe on that day I only have money to feed us. So what I will do is just forgo class. And I'm grateful that even after all these occurrences, that God made it possible for me to get to where I am. So some of the things that you think are mistakes, and if you think about it, the things that you think have made you fall back are actually good for you, because maybe God is trying to pull you from a situation. But personally, right now, with age, I have come to just see that what Benjamin Zulu says is very important for every young person. So I would like to know in the comment section what you think about uh, people getting pregnant when they are below 24 years of age, and does it affect life? Has it happened to you? How did it affect your own life? I would also like to know if you think that it's a bad thing, and if you would condemn anybody at this moment if they got pregnant at that age. So personally, I cannot, because every person's situation is different. Every person's situation is different, and sometimes it all works out for the best. For me personally, it did work out for the best, and I'm grateful that I did make the decision to keep the pregnancy and have my son. I have never, that is one decision I have never regretted making. Never ever. But they, in my entire life, I have never regretted making that decision, because I have seen and developed a different kinds of relationships with my mother first of all. Right now, I do not uh, see my mom in a negative light. I know that she actually meant well. So, guys, if you're under 24 years, kindly just concentrate on your growth, and yes, just make good decisions, because every action has consequences. And say bye.
Bye.
You just want to say bye. You don't want to tell them subscribe to my mom's channel. Yeah, stand up
I
and
can't
say.
see you, man.
Huh? Say, stand there.
Bye. Subscribe
Look,
to my mom.
look here. You're looking at that camera. Say, subscribe to my mom's channel. Bye bye.
Subscribe to my mom's channel. Bye bye.
So, thank you for staying this far into the video. Kindly consider subscribing, liking, and sharing my content. Thank you so much for all those who've already subscribed. I'm really grateful. And let's keep doing this.
Bye bye.